And we're going to go ahead and get started. It is 7:01. I want to thank everybody for coming to City Council. This is Thursday, April the 15th. We always start our City Council meetings observing a moment of silence before reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. We ask usually every meeting that you keep Jack Rigger in your best thoughts and prayers. As many of you know, Jack had a pretty severe bout with COVID, and Jack continues to recover at home. He is part of this meeting tonight, so we appreciate thoughts and prayers to him, and also to Mary Allball, who continues to recover from surgery herself. So let's enter our moment of silence, please. Thank you very much. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, as we begin tonight's meeting, we have a lot of folks here to speak about one issue in particular. It is not listed on the agenda until under strategic issues for discussion and or vote. I've spoken with some council members today, as well as City Attorney Tom O'Neill. I'm going to invoke Chair's prerogative and ask that we move F1, the zoning change request, 67 South Kanawha Street, from R2 to C2, potential referral to Planning Commission, to the forefront. Could I have a motion to that effect, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second, we'll give it to Mary Allball. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. As we begin this evening, I want to thank everybody for coming. This is what being part of a community is all about. We come together to talk about issues that face us all, and I appreciate the room being filled tonight with folks from you know, all kinds of viewpoints. And as that leads into, I would ask that with everyone that has signed up to speak tonight, please try to limit comments to 3 to 5 minutes or so that we can keep the meeting rolling, as well as please let's try to keep this as professional and cordial and respectful as possible. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our City Attorney Tom O'Neill to discuss the process that will be followed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. The council has before it a petition to rezone a particular piece of property on South Kanawha Street. Thought before the council gets into the matter substantively, that we just review generally the procedures that are based upon not only West Virginia State Code, but the city's own zoning ordinance. Once a petition to rezone a piece of property is received, ordinance number 244 requires the city council to refer the matter to the Planning Commission. Once the Planning Commission has received the matter, they are required to hold a public hearing within, I think it's 60 days. Within 60 days after a petition to amend the zoning ordinance is received by the Planning Commission, then the Planning Commission must hold a public hearing after giving public notice. Once the Planning Commission considers the petition, then it will make a decision on whether to recommend or not recommend that the change occur back to the City Council. Again, that decision is not to accept or reject the petition. The decision is whether to recommend the change or not recommend the change. And there is an objective legal standard that goes along with making that determination. I'm going to get into the weeds of that, but it has to do with the city's comprehensive plan. In any event, whether whatever the recommendation is then returned to the city council, and then the council recommends or considers the change by a 3-reading ordinance. State law, neither state law nor our city ordinances strictly require a second public hearing as part of that ordinance. However, it has been the long custom of this council to hold a second public hearing prior to the 3rd reading of that ordinance. And then there are publication requirements that go along, as well as notifying all of the affected property owners in the vicinity by mail and so on. So tonight, Ordinance 244 is very clear about what your duty is. It's a mandatory requirement in the ordinance that that the petition be referred to the Planning Commission for their consideration, and that the due process afforded by our ordinances and state code be given a chance to play out. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to take them. If not, that is my guidance to the council.
Any questions from Mr. O'Neill before we get started? Okay. Mr. Sanders.
And I do want to, if anyone here has anyone that wanted to view the meeting and didn't have the instructions, if you wanted to text them now and they could watch it on Facebook. Rodney, is that correct? On our Facebook page. It's being broadcast on Channel 3's Facebook page. It's being broadcast on Channel 3 in Buckhannon live. I know that one person here did text instructions to somebody to go ahead and call into the go-to meeting. That might have been the person I asked for identification. If they want to call back in, I will not ask for their identification. If they simply want to call in to watch the proceedings through the go-to meeting, it is an open meeting, and we want people to be comfortable in watching the open meeting. And if they do want to send us a question on the matters this evening, they can do so at Mr. Mayor, what is that at?
It is Buckhannon at buckhanonwv.org.
Buckhannon at buckhanonwv.org. And I have the email open, and if an email comes in, we will read that email. And just the minute it comes in, once we have a break, we will read that email as the procedure goes along. So I think we've covered all of the items as far as alerting the public how they can participate in the meeting.
And every person that wishes to speak, if you could please approach the podium. Since we are recording, there's a microphone there so that it picks up your voice most clearly.
Could you identify where in the procedure you are? Are you on the 3rd reading of the
No,
ordinance to grant it?
No, this is the very first step. It hasn't even been referred to Planning Commission yet. Okay. We'll begin with Burton Abel, since he is the only person who called to request to be put on the agenda, who made the agenda before it was printed, to speak about this matter, and then we'll go down through the list as you have signed in. So Mr. Abel, if you'd like to approach the podium.
Some of y'all know me, some of you don't. I'm a local boy. Went away for school for about 8 years. Could have went anywhere, chose to come back home because I love this town. And all of the things that have progressed in regard to the first discussion about changing the zoning of this property that I bought, I'm afraid that things have gotten a little, the cart's gotten before the horse. Before it ever got off the ground, there were wheels moving to try to put a stop to it. And so I was hoping to clear things up a little bit here this evening. So there's a couple things everybody needs to be aware of. When I bought that property, it was conveyed to me that at that time, that changing the zoning to commercial wouldn't be a big deal. The city's progressive. Apparently that's not necessarily true. So in the meanwhile, folks that don't know, right there on South Kanawha Street, within the last few years, I guess it's been, 50, 52, 54, and 56 South Kanawha Street have all been changed from R2 to commercial property, okay? Those are directly adjacent to the property that I own. So in the spirit of the zoning, the way I interpret it, when the highway commercial district was created, it basically spans the length of Route 20 through the entire city limits, minus 4 blocks, kinda. So it's a checkerboard. There's commercial here, there's commercial there. From my lot, you can get blinded by the lights from Kreitz Electric sign. You can smell the burgers from McDonald's. And you can see AutoZone. I mean, so it's interesting how we have a patchwork zone. But for all the folks that are worried about it being a nuisance to have a bank there, everybody just needs to keep in mind, Steve Thacker's shop, what used to be there? Houses. Speedway, houses. AutoZone, houses. McDonald's, houses. All that was residential, all of it, until somebody chose to take a risk, buy some property, work with the city, get it zoned commercial, and now we can all eat Big Macs because of that, you know? So R2 in and of itself is also a little bit sketchy because of the breadth of things that can go on an R2 lot. Professional offices, of course, barbershops, of course, frat houses. You could put a daycare center there. I could put a nursing home there. The city could put a fire station there. That's part of R2. I mean, you can put a grocery store there with certain limitations. You can put a flower shop, a gift shop, but you can't put a bank. And I've heard the bank being referred to as a commercial bank. And it was really funny, one of the threads that somebody started on Facebook, which I tend to stay away from, it said, just what Buckhannon needs, another bank. Well, I guess those folks don't know. BC Bank has been in Buckhannon for years now, okay? They're out at Northridge, you know, the dead development on the other end of town. So it's just funny. I think there's a lot of perception about what's going to happen here that it's gotten sideways before it's ever gotten off the ground. I spoke to various realtors, both in this town, in this state, and outside this state. Each and every one of them assured me that property values would absolutely positively not be negatively affected, although they've been told otherwise. So, you know, there's a lot of things that I think everybody needs to keep in mind as we go through this process. Nobody's trying to build anything to take away from the quote-unquote charm of Buckhannon, okay? There hasn't even been a rendering done of the bank. We don't know. Nobody's even seen what they're going to build there. It's being painted as a 6-story cinder block square with spotlights. I mean, I think everybody needs to just, you know, I think we all have the same goals here. I think we could make it all work. But it's going to take a little give and take from everybody. So I guess the city has to decide how progressive it really is, and if we really want to make things better for the community. That lot will not be vacant forever, I promise you that. That lot will never have a house on it as long as I own it, because that's not what it was intended for. So something will go up there, and there are alternatives to a bank that may be not as attractive as a bank. So we're going to move it in a direction one way or another. So I'm asking the council, of course, to pass it along to the Planning Commission for further analysis and review, not to look at it from an emotional standpoint, but from where does the city want to be? What is the true zoning plan for the future of the town? And then we'll just take it from there, okay? So thank you for the time. Thank you for the consideration.
Thank you. Thanks, Bart.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll begin going down through the list as folks have signed in. And if any folks who have put maybe here, if you would just kind of, if you do decide you wish to speak, just kind of give a signal up this way somehow, that would be helpful. Okay. First up is Jane Godwin.
As a former member of the Historic Preservation Committee, I can tell you that that committee or that commission has limited power in making recommendations to new businesses and what they want to build. And that group has great visions for what Buckhannon can be. But the fact is, we've had new businesses being built that totally ignored what the committee recommended. And the fact is, that area is part of the historic district, residential, and that's what the title is, historic. I forget the exact.
Part of it's called the Central
Yes, that's
Buckhannon
right.
Residential
That's
Historic
it.
District.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think about Joyce Ann Law next door to that. And I think about coming out of Bog Street, as I grew up on Bog Street, and my mother still has her house there, and trying to get out of Bog Street as it is difficult enough. But as what Burton mentioned about charm, that is something we need to consider for Buckhannon. And I currently live on Island Avenue, and I would hate to see Kanawha Street, that area of Kanawha, turn out like Island Avenue. I'd hate for you to have to look out on Gamble Amusement every day as I have to. So I hope that you will quash this, and I hope that the bank can find some other property, because there are other properties, and I hope that when the Ables decide to sell that property, that they can find something that will enhance our town and not be something that is going to be a bone of contention for all the people that live in that area.
Thanks, Jane. Bruce Blend.
I'm good.
You okay? Okay. Ryan Curry.
I'd like to thank the council for taking time for BC Bank to be here tonight. My name is Ryan Curry. I'm President and CEO of BC Bank. BC Bank has been a community bank serving North Central West Virginia for over 50 years. We have been at our current location in Northridge Plaza for about 5 years. And in that short period of time, we have successfully developed a customer base that I'm glad to say we could serve as their financial institution, both of the residents and the businesses of Buckhannon. Our current office has 5 employees, all live in Buckhannon or Upshur County, and all of them are active in the community, whether it be community organizations or youth sports or high school activities. So our employees are involved in the community. The office that we currently have does have its challenges out at Northridge. In order for a bank to adequately serve their customers, we need a drive-through. We need a night drop. At Northridge, those challenges, we don't have the access to a drive-through, and it's the location is not easily accessible as we're in the back part of Northridge. Our reason for being here tonight, we want the city to know that BC Bank is willing to invest in Buckhannon. We want to be here as part of a community bank. This is why we're looking to relocate, and we've replaced the quest for the rezoning of Kanawha Street. I know there's been several discussions on the traffic. From the bank's view, those are our customers going to and from work, going to the grocery store that's on that road now. We want to provide a financial institution for them that has easy access of in and out. Those individuals that are not our customers, we want them as our customers. I know there's been concerns about the lighting and design. I can tell you that the management team of BC Bank has had initial discussions with 2 of the top bank design firms in the nation. We've not went into significant detail until we know the overall process and decision here today. But we're very cognizant of the location, the residents and surrounding homes in the area. We're not building a 6-story building. In today's banking environment, you don't need that anymore. And going back to the traffic, banking has changed so much in the last 10 years, and even with the pandemic. A lot of banking nowadays, people don't even come into the bank. It's electronic, it's done by your phone. However, there are those individuals, our customers, that still on a weekly or monthly basis want to come in and talk to their banker or the teller, and they see that as a way of social interaction. And I see that every day at the bank I'm at now. So in summary, BC Bank is dedicated and we want to be here. We just want the city and the residents to see that we are a community bank, and we hope you see it our way.
Thanks, Mr. Curry.
Thank you.
Jim?
Jim Valenson. I own property here in Buckhannon. One of them just happens to be on Bogger Street, where the alley that would be going behind this bank is located. It runs right into the house. Traffic on this thing, I don't care what is being said, additional traffic. I've been involved in building new stores in locations. How much, if you're not going to need a new bank, if your traffic's not going to increase, then stay where you're at and find a different location that way. You're not just going to build a new building just to build a new building. So increased traffic, trying to make a left turn off Bogus into that bank is going to be another obstacle that we're fighting already. The alley behind it, if that's being used as an exit, is dumping into residential areas, which we don't need traffic in there again, because getting out of Bogus, as we mentioned once already, is a nightmare. They are located where there's a 4-lane highway in a center where there's double lane traffic, not the single lanes that we currently have here in Buckhannon. So as far as I'm looking at, if there's really, we want to be a partner with Buckhannon, then you find a place in the commercial district and be friendly that way. Because we don't need, as it was mentioned 2 weeks ago, we have enough of lighting that is causing enough lighting problems in the city that the public service department didn't want new lights in their parking lot because of the issues it would cause. We don't need that in our neighborhood. So I'm strictly against it. I have neighbors there that it's not right for that particular area. So I thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ann, do you want to speak, or you're a maybe?
Can we defer to a couple other people and then come back to us?
Okay, I'll just read down through. Sharon McNeamer, same. Joyce Ann Law,
I'll wait.
okay. Pam Martin. Is it William Wilson? Okay.
I'm William Wilson. I live on West Lincoln Street. I have a couple questions. I'm not quite clear. Are you all talking about the property that when you turn off onto West Lincoln Street, it's right behind the church, the large vacant lot behind the church? Is that what you're talking about?
On the south side of the Episcopalian Church, yes, sir.
Okay, because everybody kept saying Canal Street, so you had me confused.
It is.
How is that Canal?
South.
Well, yeah, I don't,
The blank.
okay. But that's going to be directly behind the church, right?
No.
No, it'll be on the south side of it, right? It's on the front, it has the road frontage. There's a wrought iron fence in front of it, which is about to come down, but there's a wrought iron fence in front of it.
Beside Roy Law's.
You got it. It's between the Episcopal, it's on the south side of the Episcopal Church and the north side of Roy Law's.
So then it's not going to, are you bringing the traffic out onto Lincoln Street or Bogus?
20.
Back out onto 20?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is already a 16,000 car a day, and it's been that way for 20 years highway. And this Route 20 is a 16,000 car a day, hasn't changed for 20 years.
Yeah, but the only bad thing about that 16,000 car a day is that's when school's out. When school's in, it's triple that, guarantee it.
It's a state survey. I have it. I can show it to you.
I know it's a state survey, but I used to do the state surveys. They only count traffic in the off time. And, I mean, that's how they do it. When they want to upgrade a road or something, they check the traffic in the off time. But that's neither here nor there. The only thing that I got to say is, had I known this, I just purchased my house a year and a half ago. I retired and moved into Buckhannon. I would have never bought. I mean, I bought it for the beauty of the place. West Lincoln Street has always been an incredible place, and so is Boggs Street. But to me, you're trying to get too many commercial things grouped into one area. Everybody remembers back when, where the other drive-through bank is setting up there past Wendy's. That was 2 houses used to sit there, you know, and they were pretty nice houses. They weren't that bad. They tore them down and put that bank there. It's been building up commercially, but when I asked the realtor, when I bought that place off French Armstrong, I was told that all of that area is strictly residential, period, end of quote. And I was going to build a house in Buckhannon 35 years ago. And I come down here to get a variance in the ordinance. They told me absolutely not. Said I could put a garage on there, a building of convenience, but they would never, ever change an ordinance. And so, you know, I'm just dumbstruck, you know, seriously. I mean, you're talking about a beautiful part of town. And I'm sure the bank would be beautiful. There's no doubt about that. I'm sure that they do a nice job. I'm not saying that. But I'm just saying I think it's in a very poor place. And the traffic there is just crazy during the school time. Thank you.
Thank you. Karen Waggy.
I'm good.
Randy Tenney. Curtis.
Good evening, everybody. So I'm obviously an interested party. I own a house across the street. I've never met Mr. Abe, not once. And the property which he purchased is zoned residential, and it is our assumption in the future that it should remain such. And the comments that something worse could go in there, if as long as it's residential too, as it's currently listed, shouldn't be a situation. And so, but I want to talk to you guys about the 2025 plan and the thousands of hours of work that a lot of volunteers put into that plan about what the future of Buckhannon could look like, should look like, and the surveys that we conducted at the time. Some of you will remember that we surveyed a little over 700 people in the community. And some of the things that they brought up was that there was a shortage of housing. And they also talked about there was far too much traffic. The one thing that they did not bring up in the entire plan, and I went through the entire survey earlier today, was a lack of bank drive-thrus. So the reason I bring this up is because the reason that we have zoning is because there's a concept of pulling together communities of certain types of architecture and purpose. And we have commercial districts that are dedicated to that. We have residential districts that are dedicated to that service. The value of turning a residential piece of property into a commercial piece of property is that it takes away the home value of the other residents around it. In effect, it steals value from those properties to the profit of the individual selling it. There will obviously be a good deal of light pollution is created. And it's not about access for banking customers. If it's a drive-through, since the bank already has a location in town. With all that said, I'm an individual who has definitely put his money where his mouth is. We took a home and renovated it and worked hard to take architectural pieces to convert it back into, to make sure that small things like the fish scale pieces on the dormers match the other parts of the residential area of the town. That we put square columns on the porch so that it matched. That we did white balusters on the porch. And then when we opened a business in this town, and then we have 6 offices in 4 states, and we took a building that was historic, the roof was caving in, and we tried to make it look like the rest of Main Street. We put the stone in the front that talked about the year it was built. We elongated the windows to look like the rest of Main Street, and we were able to do all of that effectively within the zones that they were created. When we were looking for property, it was suggested to me that we take the house that we had purchased and renovated and turn that into an office and buy elsewhere. And we couldn't do that because I said, it's a residential zone. We're not going to make it commercial. So we took the time, me and my family and my business, to invest back into town, into the areas that are already in existence, and following into the very concepts that are part of the 2025 plan. I hope that you all will consider that as the process moves forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brian Jett.
So my name is Brian Jett. I'm an attorney. I work with BC Bank. I am an attorney at Jackson Kelly. The first thing I wanted to just kind of reiterate, Tom O'Neill said that first this application is submitted to City Council, and the proper procedures, that's then referred to the Planning Commission. So no decision will be made tonight on whether to, rezone the property. It's just kind of your preliminary step here. Most of everything else I was going to say, has been covered by other individuals here. I would, also like to say that the current zoning, this has already been said, but a sorority house, a fraternity house could go there. A barber shop, a nursing home, a daycare. It is a residential zone, but the zoning ordinance allows for those other things. So it's not just limited to houses that can currently go there. And that's mostly just what I wanted to reiterate to everyone.
Thank you. Wasn't that go back to a fraternity tore it up?
Okay.
Fraternity tore it up.
That concludes, I believe, everyone who circled a Y on this form. Does anybody else wish to address the council who has not had a chance to speak? Ann?
Well, first of all, let me say that I love Buckhannon too. I've lived here 70 years, off and on, mostly on. And I care about it a lot. And I have a son that lives here and he has a business. And I want Buckhannon to grow. I want it to be successful. I want it to get bigger and be better. But I also want to preserve the pretty residential areas that we have and the charm that we have here. I hate to use that word charm, but it's true. And I know a lot of you in here live in that area. And when you buy property, you buy it on the assumption that it's going to be at least steady in what it looks like, basically, is what you're doing. Everybody talked about the traffic, so I'll skip that over. But, rezoning something is not something that you should just do willy-nilly, snap your fingers, oh, somebody wants to rezone. People's property values are affected by that. People's lives are affected by that. Our lives are going to be affected by a drive-through bank. My jaw dropped when I heard that. So it's not just, oh, let's just change, because we have areas in Buckhannon, we have Northridge out there where you already are apparently, we have we have 33, we have out towards Brushy Fork, we have all these other areas that are already commercial. They're already commercial. I would like to see this town grow, but not in our prettiest areas where you're going to affect so many people's lives by the terrible traffic, the light light pollution, noise pollution, traffic pollution, the whole bit. So I'm just totally against it. And I have one question to ask. If this is automatically going to go to the Planning Commission, whenever they make a decision, does it matter if you actually come to those meetings, or if people write letters? Because we have a lot of residents would write letters, phone calls. Do those matter just as much as showing up here in person?
Sure. I mean, the Planning Commission will have, as Mr. O'Neill outlined in the process, they're required to have a public hearing, an official public hearing when they consider it. And so the public is encouraged to be a part of those discussions, as with any discussion that is relative to the city. And then the Planning Commission will refer it back to City Council. And if the City Council accepts it and goes down the road towards creating an ordinance, there will also be yet another required public hearing at the second reading of the ordinance, because it'll be a 3-reading ordinance. There'll be yet another public hearing. But in where we are in a society today, you don't have to show up physically at a meeting to have your voice heard. You can always use this platform, or you can write an email, you can write a letter, you can call us up on the phone.
So those count just as much as actually showing up
Well,
here?
I mean, I don't know what you mean by count, but I mean, we consider what people.
Would you say I've got 50 letters here saying they're against this? Would that matter when you're making a decision?
Well, I can tell you when we had the public meeting about Suddenlink and how everybody had concerns about Suddenlink, we collected written statements from folks and we passed those along to Suddenlink as a company. And some that was helpful, because it helped them see in writing what the concerns were with the company. That's about service. This is a different story. I'm just kind of trying to draw the connector of, you can write a letter and we will consider it, and I know the Planning Commission will consider it as well. So we try as an elected body to respond to any constituent, any concerned citizen who approaches us with anything. I was just up on Smithfield Street before this meeting talking to someone who was concerned about a totally different matter. That's any form. I mean, and the Planning Commission meetings will be public. All of our meetings that are affiliated with the city are public. Anybody can come and be a part of any discussion. So
you know how people are. Sometimes they're
sure.
afraid to get up and speak, and they would rather write a letter, or they would
Sure.
rather do a phone call.
Sure.
So that's why I was asking.
Sure.
I think ultimately the most effective advocacy is in person.
Well,
So to answer your question from my perspective, letters and all that are effective, but I think the most effective is what you're doing this evening and what everyone else has been doing.
okay.
But they will be considered, to answer your question.
Can I address something, make a comment?
Sure.
The reason I want to thank everybody that it's coming from the community around because you know what? I live on Buckhannon Street. I may not live there for long yet, okay, but it's my home and I know what they're talking about. But the biggest thing about having another bank right in that area, or any kind of thing that's going to be busy, 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 busy. I've seen so many accidents coming from the big trucks and cars coming, and that's something that the Planning Commission will get records of all that kind of stuff. That's what they do. But I'm proud of you neighbors for coming in and speaking, and the bank too. But the people who love your home, you love Buckhannon, and you know how hard it is to get out on Buckhannon. I just started driving again. I go to the back alleys and go all the way so I can go to the right in order to go to Main Street, because I can't go out Buckhannon Street, okay? But
That's hard.
because I can't, I'm afraid to, so I go the other way. But anyways, just too many. There's too many accidents. We've got a lot of younger people too, a lot of kids in Buckhannon on the Buckhannon Street and Lincoln Street that they walk and they got to cross the road to go over to the park or wherever, okay? Wesleyan, the walk trails, everything. We want to be walking. And it's hard to get across that road.
It is.
Thank you. So thank you.
Thanks, thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to address the council?
I have an email, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
from Dr. Timothy Reese. His email says, please be aware of the long-term ramifications of changing the property to C2 highway. Means that the property could be used for all other C2 uses in the future, including gas stations, automobile repair shops and garages, wholesale establishments and warehouses, etc. Again, that was an email from Dr. Timothy Reese.
Okay.
Mayor, I've received several phone calls, texts, people's come to see me in person. I too live on Bogus Street, and I understand it is terrible trying to get out on that street. And it's dangerous. I've had several people tell me that even the speed limit is too fast right now and coming through there. Right now it's 35 to where you get down to Wendy's, which I've been thinking about bringing to council anyway, and we have to go through the state to even get that lowered. But there's been several accidents. It's because people stop to turn and they get hit in the rear end. And but I understand the fact there is some beautiful homes through there. You don't have, and Ann's right. Once you lose the charm of these homes, they'll never come back. And you cannot replace the type of homes that we've had in the past that are still standing and are being taken care of. And these people put their heart and soul in it to keep them looking nice. And I, for one, enjoy driving through there. But like I said, if these homes are affected, which they will be affected by another business coming through there, it does take away from the charm of the homes that's already there.
I have a question. Did anybody come and,
You just voting, I'm sorry, said that.
when the zoning was changed on 50, 52, 54, and 56 South Canal Street, were there any objections to that?
I don't believe so.
I want to talk.
Oh, okay.
I would have objected if I'd known.
So, I mean, I think it's interesting, and it leads me to another thing. One of the main reasons that I'm here is I had a patient that stopped by my office and just said they needed to speak to me. And as a result, they said that the reason they came and stopped was that they had talked to someone who had been spoken to by the mayor about essentially letting them know the evils of the bank, okay? And they did not seek out the mayor. The mayor sought them out, okay? And so I just wanted the council to be aware that there was already stuff being done behind the scenes before this ever even, before the pen hit the ink, okay? So I do have some problems with that ethically and otherwise, but I wanted the council to be aware that that was already being done before this ever became a discussion, before it was ever made public in any way, shape, or form, okay? So I wanted the council to be aware of that. So that's it.
Thank you.
Since you mentioned 51, 52, and 53, I live on East Lincoln. I'm hearing tonight about how it's so public that this is going to happen. We had no idea in 2018 that those lots were changed to commercial until 2019 when Rusty Kreitz had torn down the building and started these poles, this pole garage going up across from our house. That's the first time I knew about it. I had no idea, and I don't know how. I mean, I don't think I'm totally oblivious of what goes on in the county, but I'm sure anybody that was on that committee would know that Chair McNeamer did not want a garage built, a pole building built out her picture window. So nobody had mentioned it. I had no idea, and I definitely would have objected if I would have known. So it's good that everybody's here objecting ahead of time because I feel lost now. still have the poles since 2018. The poles are still out there, nothing's happened. I plan to come to the commission meeting, or the planning committee meeting whenever they have another one, because I'd like to talk how it feels. Doesn't feel good. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anybody else wish to address us?
I have a question. Do you want me to go over there?
Yes, ma'am, please.
As well as I can remember when zoning went in, I understood that all property owners were to be notified and used to have to sign a variance before you could, I guess, so that everybody knew what was going on around them, the properties that abutted the property that was wanting a variance change or wanting to do things to their property that was out of the ordinary. Is that not right? Or am I totally off the wall?
Good. We got Vince that does a lot of little
Well,
things.
wait. Mr. O'Neill, are you still here?
Mr. O'Neill's right there.
There you go.
Would you please, I'm sorry, would you please repeat your question?
I thought, and I come back from where this all started, that if you wanted to make any changes in the residential area or any of the others and change it like we're wanting to do tonight, that beforehand all the property owners were to be notified.
Well, we're talking about two different things. Variances are not the same as rezoning. They're very different. Variances are things like fence heights or setbacks or things like that. And those go to the Zoning Board of Appeals, not the Planning Commission. But yes, in each case, all the property owners are notified of the process beginning, whether it's a variance or a rezoning. When it comes to, and there's been some discussion about the 52, 54, and 56, when that was rezoned, we sent notices out to affected property owners in that area. I don't know, Sharon, why Sharon doesn't have memory or whatever of receiving a notice, but those were sent out. We'll go back through our records and look into that. But we sent out notices to all of those, to all the property owners in that vicinity. And I don't recall there being any objections at that time, but that's kind of beside the point. But to answer your question directly, variance, you cannot change a land use by a variance. So in other words, just that. Variances are for things like setbacks and the kind of ancillary things that go around the standards that are set in the zoning ordinance. The types of uses of the property cannot go through the variance process. They have to go through the rezoning process, which is the process that is being initiated through the petition that's been filed. Now, the property owners do not sign off on the change in either case. They're given notice and the opportunity to comment, but surrounding property owners don't, in effect, get a veto over whether or not the change is made. So if that answers your question.
While I'm up here, I'll just reinstate that I would like to make a couple of comments. My name's Karen Waggy, and I am on the governing board of the Episcopal Church. I think Mr. Curry has talked to Father John Valentine, and also I believe the name is Mr. Wilkinson. He left a message for him. Basically, I came tonight because Father John couldn't come to say that while I think we were contacted and asked about if we had any objections, and at times said no, but until yesterday, 2 days ago when I got a email from somebody and sent me the concerns of the neighbors were having. We had no idea that was taking place. And basically, our concern was tonight was to come is to see that we are concerned for our neighbors and how important it is that their homes maintain their value and beauty. And while there could be a heck of a lot worse things than a bank, it's also important that those changes should be easily made after somebody has bought a home, like one of the gentlemen said, and he said then he would not have bought that if he knew all that could change. I was in here just to observe and to listen tonight, really not to speak, but there are a lot more people speaking of their concerns, and that is also a concern of us as a church, is to be good neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Ann.
Yes. I'm not good at speaking. If I can get through this. Anyway, yes, we are the ones on 69 right beside it. And we've just spent years and years of our lives working on our home and trying to get it all right. And now to know that it's going to be right next door, and we already have, like I said, lights down the street, the traffic, and it will be noisy. If it's a drive-through, that isn't going to stop somebody from driving through there at night and going through it. It's a big noise maker to us, and plus the value of our property. If I had to sell it, nobody's going to want to buy it for residential either if that's commercial right beside it. So I just want everybody to consider that and think about that and keep us in your prayers, I'll tell you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? Ann?
I just have two things. I'm bothered by the fact that I've heard threats that if somebody doesn't get their way, they're going to do something else. And by the fact that they are upset that we knew ahead of time because we saw the agenda and we came. I'm bothered by that.
It's not about the agenda. This went on before the agenda was released.
So what? So what? We needed to know.
And it's got nothing to do with being informed about it. That's not the problem. It's the way in
You
which.
seem to be bothered by the fact that we are objecting.
Absolutely not. I want to be a part of this community too. You know me, Ann. I played soccer with your son.
I know that.
I've lived here my whole life. The last thing I want to do is create an albatross in town.
Okay.
When this all came about, I thought, what a wonderful idea. I thought, man, they could build a beautiful place there, okay? And now I've heard you guys talk. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not the big bad wolf here, and I'm not making threats, guys. I mean, seriously?
Well, you said if you don't get your bank, you're going to put something
No.
there. That's a threat.
I said there will be something there. It's not going to be vacant forever is the point. Something will have to go there. I mean, and it's, would you have me put it?
It's a home, that's what we want.
A house.
It's a house, not a business.
It's zoned residential. A house should go there.
It's zoned R2,
Well,
not R1.
Residential.
So, but guys, this isn't what I wanted. I didn't come here to fight with anyone. I debated on coming here. This isn't what I wanted, guys. I have tried to be a part of this community. I give time and money to the city of Buckhannon. I didn't come here to fight with my neighbors, guys. I didn't. And I'm sorry that it's come to this. Really and truly. Hopefully somewhere along the way we could talk it out and maybe come to some conclusion where everybody can, get along with this. But this is not at all how the process I expect it to work. So, I guess we'll see how it goes with the planning commission and we'll go from there. But I would have much rather people reached out to me and say, hey, Bert, have you considered this? Hey, Bert, have you considered that? That's how I thought communities worked. I heard that nothing except Facebook posts that listed my name and my wife's name.
That was from the agenda version. It was a copy of the agenda.
Is my name and my wife's name on the agenda?
Yes,
Well,
the first one.
Your name is on
your name is on the agenda, yes.
Is my wife's name on the agenda?
The first one, yes.
Not this one that we have in front of us now.
But it was on the first one because my son gets those agendas.
I got the first one from the mayor.
It's a copy of the agenda that my son got for his news site. Copy and paste. Now, I don't know who he gets it from. Katie can tell you, but I don't know.
I mean, the city sends it out,
Right.
but there were several different
There were.
revisions sent out.
Yeah, there's revisions. Right.
It just goes to our general news address.
Which can happen with any given council meeting. Okay. Does anybody else wish to speak before we call for the question to refer this to Planning Commission? Hearing the need for none. Ladies and gentlemen of council, you have before you F1, which we brought forth to the table, which is a zoning change request, 67 South Canal Street from R2 to C2, to refer this to Planning Commission. I'd entertain a motion to that effect.
So move.
We have a motion by Mr. Sanders. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mrs. Bucklew. Is there any additional comments needed? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Like sign opposed. Let the minutes show that the motion carries unanimously, that the matter will be referred to Planning Commission, at which the Planning Commission will set a meeting and a public hearing at a later date within 60 days. Okay. Do we want to take a couple-minute brief recess to allow anybody who's come just singularly for this item to exit, and if they so choose?
Sure.
Okay. I entertain a motion to take a 5-minute recess.
Second.
Thank you. And gentlemen, I'd like to call the meeting back to order at 8:06.
Like Hershey. Did you see that? You can see it whenever you look over there. You can put the camera on though. You can. All right, man.
Ready to go?
Yeah, ready to
Okay, Dennis, if you'd like to approach the podium with your report, please.
Sure thing.
Good evening, folks. I guess I'll leave my mask on tonight. I don't scare the public. I have a report from the Upshur County Parks and Recreation Board, and we got some pictures on the screen that we can look at as I'm reading. The gnome gardens have proved to be popular, and a lot of businesses have been decorating their spots. And there are 3 spots still open to the public, and these pictures can show you what kind of thing you do with the gnome garden. And the Upshur County Commission has agreed to pay for the whole shebang to the tune of $3,400 since they had budgeted $5,000 for the disc golf. It proved to be easier for them to pay the whole thing for disc golf. And there was a map for the disc golf in progress. The next item was to discuss pool amenities. Some of the inflatables will take the shape of an obstacle course on the water. Miss a step and in you go. The kids will have some kind of noisemakers, but these will be mounted and not removable. There will be floats that one can lay on and drift, and a couple of new umbrellas were also purchased. Next year, there will be a pipe that will squirt. I'm assuming that it will work when a person walks by and gets squirted. And the pool will open on Saturday of Memorial Day, which would be on 29 May 2021. And best of all, there will be no restrictions. It was announced that Hannah Lively is the new pool director. The kiosk at the start of the trails has been stained along with the arch for the entrance. I think, you get them up?
Already did it.
I'm still going here. Now, as other kiosks go up, they too will be stained. And since the WVDOT will not allow any new signs in the same place that the old ones were, Dennis Cordes came up with an idea. He took a picture of the new kiosk next to a small parking place along the high school driveway, and then pasted an image of the sign that we had already agreed upon, the image of the parking lot, and added 2 legs for the marker. That was truly cut and paste. Scissors, paste, the old-fashioned way. And at the meeting, it went over well, and this idea will be presented to the school board at next meeting. And I say, again, more pictures? No, they're gone. Now, with the idea of fundraising, there were some novel ideas presented, just to name a few. Using the pool in a triathlon, preferably that would be the first thing in a triathlon. You don't want mud and stuff in the pool. Or trail running races, foot and bike. Here's one, an adult bicycle race. This should be held on a paved road, perhaps, during the West Virginia Strawberry Festival, using only 1 block of Main Street, for example. Can you see me on one of the big adult tricycles? That's what we're talking about. Another idea is for what they call mailboxes for each gnome garden for ideas to be left in. And lastly, the tennis courts are to be repaired, and used only for tennis. At one point, there have been cars parked on some. And this would involve resurfacing and painting. It was also mentioned that maybe in 2022, there might, I emphasize might, be a BMX trail. And a new member of the public attended and participated in the meeting. His name was Samuel Walker. And I found out after I had already written this up that he's already been approved by the city council to sit on that board. So there's our second one. And he's most welcome. He's a good man. And we look forward to working with him. Respectfully submitted by Dennis Cordes.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thank you, Dennis.
Good luck there.
Do you like the pictures?
They were great.
Just put them back. Thanks.
Okay. Is Adam Hall here or James Ripple here? James? Okay, the only other person who has asked to address the council about something that did not pertain to F1 is our city architect, Bryson Van Nostrum. If you'd like it to be.
Okay. Well, I really wanted to talk about F1.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm messing with it. I'm messing with it.
You wrote Colonial Theater, otherwise we'd have let you have the floor.
No, it's all good. I would love to talk to the Planning Commission at some point, though, about F1. And I would say, just as a minor note, this town does not have any kind of light ordinance, which many, many cities and towns across the country do. And all of us remember what happened when McDonald's was redeveloped. And if you remember when Arby's was built, and it was like a football game was going off. And, you know, the idea, I mean, you know, if Jerry were here, he would tell you that you can buy light fixtures that just shine down. It costs a little more money, but the bigger issue is that you need more of them instead of just putting one big giant flood to cover an entire parking lot. So instead of 1 or 2, you might need 4 or 5 or 6. But this city should have a light pollution ordinance that restricts shining lights right into people's windows. And so that's not why I'm here to talk, but minor thing. So I'm here to ask you all, or to address the question of the Colonial Theater Board. So we've got, obviously, you know, we've been working so hard on this project, you know, for 5 years now, and it's so close to getting its wings and taking off. We have, you all, I think, tonight are going to vote on appointing a 5-member board to this new, or 5 members to this new board. Is Tom O'Neill, has he left the building?
No, he's here.
So I guess there's a couple of legal questions. So I wanted to bring council up and remind you that on March 1st, R26201, which is who I'm representing today, issued a letter to you all giving you a list of 5 names of who we felt were qualified to be on that board. And those 5 members were Randy Sanders from the city of Buckhannon, Renee Preston, who's a photographer, member of R26201, Keith Buchanan, who's a past executive producer of VCT, Erica Klinich, who's also a past executive producer of VCT, and John Waltz, who's current executive producer of VCT and also R26201 member. All 5 of those people were selected because they have direct experience running venues. I mean, Randy, you probably have more experience than anybody as far as booking events, managing bands and events, and or touring groups and what have you. And so we put that name out there, that group out there, for a qualifications-based selection. It's notable, my name's not on that list, and that's because, I mean, yes, I've been running an arts venue for 20 years, but I don't live in Upshur County. Jeremiah Smallridge, who's obviously a superstar in the realm of arts in this community, he also is not on this list because he doesn't live in this county. So there were other names that would have been suited for this that met those qualifications. But as far as living within the county and being directly involved in arts management, those were the 5. Now that was submitted March 1st. We had a Colonial Theater meeting here in this room on the 23rd, and at that time, the mayor informed us that Renee Preston couldn't serve on that board. And so, Tom, a question for you: is it true that Renee, serving on the building commission, would be prohibited from being on this board?
I believe that it's true, but not having the opportunity to research that question with specificity before the meeting, I would probably defer my final answer, but I believe that it is correct, yes.
Okay, well, if that's true, then another person had to be put in that list other than Renee. On, I guess about a week later, R2601 and BCT, both organizations listed a second list of 5. And I should point out that I don't know where this is. Tom, again, your help is needed. There was informal discussion that this board had to have more than one city person on it. Now, the ordinance doesn't, has the ordinance been amended?
No.
Okay.
It is not amended.
So the ordinance states that there are 5 members, and it states that 3 of them must be actively involved in the arts, but it doesn't go further than that, does it? Unless there's
Those are the only, I'm not having a copy of the ordinance from me.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only board requirements that I believe were incorporated in the, oh, sorry.
Yeah, we've got it here.
Oh, you have a copy of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the only requirements of the board that are established by the ordinance is that, well, there be 5 of them, right? That they serve at the will and pleasure of the council, that they must be residents of Upshur County, that they don't necessarily have to be residents of the city, as you've mentioned. Also, as you mentioned, that at least 3 of them have to be active in the Buckhannon Upshur arts community. The only other requirement is that they not be monetarily compensated.
And then they follow.
And obviously, and it's implied that obviously any other rules associated, such as with Ms. Preston, yeah, we have to observe those just as a matter of state law.
Of course. So, I guess I think I've been led astray that there must be city people on the board.
You mean city as far as council, city as an
Employees.
employee?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
And
so it does not require that?
It does not, no.
Okay.
It doesn't require that for 1, much less 2. And so when we submitted, so based on that meeting where we were told that we were going to have 2 city people on this board, and Randy was already essentially providing 1 of them, we then submitted a second list, which placed Amby Jenkins in the place of Renee Preston, being that second city employee or second city person. And so, I mean, I hope that tonight that this gets resolved. I hope that that the selection of the committee is based on qualifications. And the real question is, where do we stand right now as far as R2601 and Buckhannon Community Theater as to the group? I guess I would say that, Tom, if you're correct, that Renee is disqualified, then we have to, I mean, I would fall back to our first list and say, this is our dream team, this is who we want. And so if that is legally not allowed, which I have my doubts about that. I mean, we all know how many hats we all wear. And
well, I would say this, they're generally speaking, as a matter of state law, there are two entities that if you're on that, you are disqualified from any other position, and that's the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Building Commission, generally, if I'm correct about the second one. And so, I mean, so the Building Commission disqualification has a precedent with the Zoning Board of Appeals. So it wouldn't strike me as unusual to confirm that.
Well, so let's assume that's the fact, that's the case. So then, after we issued this letter to the city on March 30th, placing Amby Jenkins in that slot of Renee Preston, we were then informed that Amby was not allowed to be on this board, that there was another conflict of interest. Tom, do you think that's possible?
I was present at the meeting. I don't recall it being, at least when it comes to Amby, that it being a prohibition. I think it was, hey, this is probably just inadvisable. And I think that would be, and at least that seems to be my, and granted, I concede that my memory might be a little off here, but the discussion, right, the discussion as to city council members being on the board it doesn't strike me that conversation was about that they're required to be, but that the council may find it advisable for them to be on. Not that it was strictly necessary, but maybe something that the council really wants to do. So the question of, must or cannot, I don't think I would draw quite the same, fine lines.
So would you say that a council member being on this board is not a problem?
Legally? Or
no, from appearances.
Well, I don't think it's appropriate for me to say. I mean,
I have a comment, if I could just interject, okay? I may not have been with all of it, okay, but let me just say it. I don't think we need a appointment for the mayor. I didn't really think, that was my thoughts. We don't need an appointment for the mayor or something to vote on for that. The people that have their heart and soul like you, okay, and I can tell you, Amby Jenkins has been very active and supportive on that, okay, but she also helps when there's plays and stuff and events, even before the stuff was there. And her daughter has also been in the theater, okay, so that was the other thing. And I thought that would be and I recommended that. I don't know if I ever got that across to anybody, but I would have liked to have seen that for Amby. And then she could volunteer and look and see and be the, like when the things need from the theater or whatever, what's going on, because she's used to doing all that. She knows what they're doing and what they need. Randy knows too. But I thought that's how it was going to be.
Well, let me say to all of you, council, that if Amby being on this list of 5 is uncomfortable to you all, from Tom's suggestion, that there would be now, I guess, a third potential candidate for that who is actively involved in managing arts events and venues, and that's CJ. Of course, his involvement with Festival Fridays. I know you don't want to do it, I know, but my point is you book bands, you cook chicken, like you know what it's like to run an event.
Is he sleeping?
Look at him, he's sinking in his chair. But I guess what I would implore you all to do is to make these appointments based on experience. And I mean, we are setting up the framework for this brand new organization. If we're lucky, 25 years from now, it's just going to be going full tilt. And what happens now in its early formative stages is critical. And so that's why we care very much about who's on this board. So I guess if I was to make a recommendation, I would say BCT and R2621 membership is totally happy with Amby Jenkins. Sorry, Amby. Amby being on that board. And I guess if your legal counsel advises you that that's not good in some way, shape, or form, then we would then submit CJ Rylance as that substitute name.
I would interject, if my memory serves me right, I think the conversation that we were having and Amber, you correct me if I'm wrong, since she handles the finances and would be having to vote on financial decisions while advising the board on financial decisions, I thought that was one of the conversations we had, that it was an uncomfortable position, that she would be counseling the board on the financial situation, on the financial outlook and so forth, and then she would turn around and then cast a vote on that. And that would put her at an advantage, at a disadvantage, and in an uncomfortable position. And I think that was, it's not a legal problem, I don't think it's a, you know, but it was something that, it's just not a good look.
But how would it be any different for any other member of this council that has a vote? I mean,
Well, it's different between an employee of the city and an elected official. Just to close the loop on our prior conversation about Ms. Preston, West Virginia Code 833.3. This is dealing with
but
billing
it does
commissions.
rule her out.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, good. So,
And it doesn't rule, I mean, what I just said doesn't rule Andy out. It just,
well, you all have to be comfortable with this.
Yeah.
Of course. So, if I remember right from the ordinance, it's city council who approves all financial expenditures related to the loan. Not the treasurer per se, but it's the entire council that is responsible for those, for all expenditures, approving all expenditures. And let me see if I can find that.
No, that's correct.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah,
Point
City
taken.
of Buckhannon
Yeah.
shall approve or disapprove all expenditures. Yes. So I guess I would say it doesn't necessarily fall on one particular person to be able to corrupt the system in some way or another. But so anyway, there are lots of qualified people that we could throw at, that we could propose, but these were the ones that we've done, that we've submitted thus far, and I think we've got the dream team. So I would ask your vote to proceed with who we submitted on March 30th, which is essentially the four that we mentioned plus Amby.
I have something to say. In the beginning of this process, the mayor started talking about it, and he asked if anybody or council member would be interested in being on the board, and if we had anybody that we would like to suggest to be on the board. I submitted my name to him, and also submitted to Brian Williams and Keith Buckhannon, because I've worked with Brian lots of times in the back. And as far as experience, I've been in lots of plays. I used to do hair and makeup for years. I still work with Greg Mock at the college. He calls me every season, and I go help with the hair and makeup over there. As far as, you know, it's not even a paid position where you feel like you have to have a professional person on this board. And I also recall Mary saying that she felt we should have 2 council members on there, and so did Dave Thomas. And I love the theater, I support the theater, and I wanted to be on there because I'm really passionate about being a part of that. So, and then I'm getting a lot of negative comments coming to me. If somebody has a problem with me I'm one vote. I'm one vote of 5 people that would be on that board. And as far as professionals, where is Renee Preston, a professional with theater? Where is she the professional?
Well, she's a professional photographer and does the makeup.
Possibly, but these are not paid positions. These are appointments. We have people that aren't professionals that's on our boards in this city.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do.
But I could tell you right now, any one of you want to be on a board in here, I'll guarantee you nobody would say no to you. This is a volunteer thing. I support the theater, I always have. I support the arts, and that's the one thing I really want to be a part of. And I'm only going to be there to help see things go through. That's why I wanted to be on there.
Can I make a consideration? Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What and this is probably for Tom. Tom, what's the conflict of interest with Renee?
And she's not permitted to serve on the building commission and another city board.
Why is that?
West Virginia State Code, 833.3.
So it's one of those things that the state legislature doesn't know what they're doing half the time. That, I just have to put that in there because there's so many restrictions.
Well, listen, I mean, I think there's a good reason, and that is that the building commission could be called upon to, finance a bond issue at some point that could conceivably be for the benefit of whatever, some other, city board. It's not that state, that's why, because.
That's really stressing me, quite frankly.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I have issues with the legislature a lot of things.
Dave, I think it'd be a good idea. I mean, it'd be a good idea to not have a member serve on both the building commission and city council, or on the building commission and a utility board when the utility board is seeking fine. I mean, I think there are very good
I
reasons.
can understand some good reasons with that, but not with something like the Colonial Theater, the Arts Center. That's just a stressful point. I made a comment a long time ago. I was very supportive of the Colonial Theater. I think that was a great decision for us to make, and we did get some criticism regarding that. But I also made a comment to the previous mayor that I thought it was important at some point in time to try to involve the Upshur County Arts Alliance. And I didn't get anywhere with that. And I think that still is a good possibility long term, that maybe their chairman of the board or vice chairman of the board ought to be considered for this kind of position. Because they do an awful lot to promote the arts and other individuals in this community.
Well, the ordinance provides that any person or organization can make a nomination to the board, and the board can appoint any person as long as they meet the requirements of the ordinance and state law. So if the Arts Alliance wants to nominate someone, they're free to do that.
I was told to just stop it. But my own personal opinion is that this is a very interesting discussion. I've got some things I could say, but I don't want to in the public. But I would recommend we table this till the next meeting. That's just my position.
Well, I would note that the board has a meeting scheduled for next week, which would be hard to do if there's no board appointed.
They can wait another week or two.
What board has
There's a meeting calendar, at least I have it on my own calendar.
Yeah, we set up the meeting in case the board was adopted, because there is some work for that board to be done, so that's why we wanted to schedule it.
We had to wait 30 days from the passage of the ordinance, which technically the ordinance goes live Saturday, into the weekend. So the next week would be the first opportunity that board would have to meet. That's why it was tentatively scheduled.
I just have one more thing to say. You all forget that my ex-mother-in-law was the one that sold you the building. And that was due to my encouragement, because I did not want that eyesore staying on that bar staying there in downtown. And I saw a future of what that place could be with the theater. So just remember that.
I still recommend table till the next meeting.
Are you prepared to make that a motion?
That's my motion.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to table the discussion and appointment of the Colonial Theater Board until the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there is a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
I would like to see us move forward tonight on this. We have kicked this can down the road quite a bit. We have to be decisive. I hear what Bryson has said. But we have to make a move here. We have a meeting scheduled coming forward. This is the board that the council was asked to appoint. We need to make a decision. We can continue to have this discussion. Bryson has put forth some additional names. We have 5 names on the table right now that the mayor has presented to council. I would urge us to make a vote.
Mayor, I'll withdraw my second.
You withdraw your second.
Yep,
Okay.
if that's a proper way to say it.
Well, we really probably should keep the second on the table. We should call for the question, and then folks are free to vote how they want to vote.
So who are we voting?
Okay, well, this is a motion technically to table this, but the slate of officer, or the slate that I have presented includes all the names that Bryson mentioned, which would be Keith Buckhannon, John Waltz, Erica Kolinich, Randy Sanders, and Pamela Bucklew. Did I get all five? Yeah, I got all five. So the only difference is Pamela Bucklew is where we are with each recommendation. So there is a motion on the floor and a second to table this until the next meeting. I'm going to go ahead and call for that question. All those in favor of tabling, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
How does Jack vote?
Jack?
All those opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so that motion has failed. So we are back to the table to either accept or deny the.
Well, we should have a motion to bring, or we want to bring it to the table now?
Why don't we?
Well, we're already here, so.
The council opens the nominations, or is this just a mayoral?
We can, I mean, this is a council appointment. We can, the council is free to appoint its board. That's the way it is written in the ordinance. Is that correct, Tom?
Yeah,
So,
and whether the ordinance is silent as to how the council votes on it, whether it votes on a slate or considers nominations individually, that'd be just a matter for the council to resolve by motion at this point.
So, Mr. Mayor, would you repeat the 5 names that you presented?
the names that I presented are, let me make sure I got it right. I'll count Keith Buckhannon, Erica Kolinich, John Waltz, thank you, Pamela Bucklew, and Randy Sanders. Those are the 5.
Up until this point, the major players have been R26201 and Bryson, who's here this evening, PCT Theater, and they've made a recommendation to this council as to what the people that have already been involved in working with and that they have working relationships with. And I support allowing them to continue on their path to making this project a reality and formalizing a board. And I support, or I nominate the folks that they put forward.
Well, you put forth 2 additional names. You would have to.
You're probably referring to the May 3rd first letter, which has Amby Jenkins as the only different name.
So the difference would be Amby Jenkins.
Is that what you're saying, CJ?
That's what you're saying, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's our wish list.
Yeah.
Amby, do you share any, I mean, we've heard some council members, do you share any concern with serving on a board which you would be a voting member, but also in somewhat of an advisory role with the financial aspect of it? We need to know if you are comfortable with that.
I will do, as I've said before, anything that the city council asks me to do. It's as simple as that. Whatever you want me to do, I will do. I will not be offended if you don't. I won't be upset if you don't. It won't matter to me. I will serve either way. I will be at those meetings either way.
Jack, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I'm just having a difficult time hearing.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. We're all spread out. Yeah,
Sorry,
I
Jack.
understand. We're spread out.
Where are the microphones right now? Bryson has one and Dave Thomas has one.
Do I need to repeat?
Yeah.
we'll play Vanna White here a second.
Don't get too close.
I don't know where to put this. We'll put this over here.
Okay. Bryson, I'm gonna have to put you on the spot here, I think, too. A lot of conversation going on here. Pam Buckley's name has been put forth, and I think it would be helpful for us to make an informed decision if you could express your concerns about Pam Buckley's recommendation.
Well, simply stated, Pam is not qualified to be on the board. From what we, as a group, have the way we arrived at 5 people was based on qualifications of experience managing venues, artistic events, artistic businesses, and Pam doesn't have that qualification. And so we certainly want this to be, we want the most qualified team of people at the helm of this organization that we can get. And,
I've run a business for 37 years. Does that not count?
no, it doesn't. It's not an art.
Isn't that what Renee Preston has run a business in her, what?
Renee's an artist, professional artist.
So,
And is a deeply
the thing is, you just don't want me on the board.
But-
And nobody's had the guts to come to my face and tell me why. And I know why. Okay? But that is then and this is now. I'm one vote. I'm going to be one vote out of the 5 or 6 or 7 people, whatever's going to be on there. One vote.
It doesn't matter really, Pam. We haven't based this on personal issues. It's
Yes,
been
it has.
it's been
Yes,
based
it
on
has.
qualifications.
No, it hasn't. No.
Keith, let's all be professional here, yeah.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay. All right. So someone, a council member needs to motion to what we are doing.
So moved.
No, that's not. This is,
Just wait a second.
Okay.
I move that we accept the nomination list of the Bryson and R2621 and BCT Theater as put forward.
is there a second to that motion?
So moved.
No. Is that? Are you seconding it? He's already motioned.
Yeah, I'll second it.
He's second. She's second.
Okay. All right. There is a second on the floor. Is there further discussion on the matter?
Still think we ought to table.
For what reason?
I think if you're going to vote, you need to vote individually.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, we can do that.
okay. All right. All those in favor of the slate that CJ and Bryson have, that Bryson brought forth, that CJ is supporting through a motion, please, we'll do the.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, let me read this. So the motion is Randy Sanders, Keith Buchanan, Amy Jenkins, Erica Kolinich, and can't read my own writing.
John Waltz.
John Waltz.
Okay.
Okay.
That is the slate that is a motion and second. All those in favor, we'll do the yays and nays, and then I'll call individually. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign opposed.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Those who voted yes, okay, well, let's do it. CJ, you voted yes. Dave Thomas?
I voted no.
No. Randy, are you keeping track of this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pam?
No.
Randy?
No.
Mary?
Yes.
Jack Rager?
No.
So that means the motion has failed. Okay?
CJ, yes. Thomas, no. Pam, no. Randy, no. Rigger, no. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
I can't make a motion to table.
Is there a second?
Second?
All right, there is a motion and a second now to table once again. Is there further discussion? Hearing the need for none, we'll call for the question. All those in favor of tabling the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those like sign opposed.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So we have, okay, CJ, Randy, you gonna write this down again?
Yeah.
Okay. Randy, or I'm sorry, CJ?
Yes.
This is to table. Dave Thomas?
Yes.
Pam?
No.
Randy?
No.
Mary?
Yes.
Jack Rigger?
No.
No.
How about you, Robbie?
Seeing as though we're not getting
It's a
anywhere,
3-3 right now.
I'm gonna say, I'm gonna vote that, I'm gonna support that we table this for this evening. We're not getting anywhere. So,
That's it. Move on.
So we cancel the meeting for the 20th, right?
Yep.
Or the,
Yeah.
the upcoming. Okay.
All right, I'll be back.
What's next?
Next on the agenda?
Yep.
okay. All right. Public Works Director Jerry Arnold is absent. He's not feeling well. Looking for his report. If it's-
He didn't do a report.
He didn't do a
There
report.
is no report.
Okay, well, I can tell you that Smithfield Street was partially paved today. Went up and took pictures of it. It was paved from East Victoria Street to to Hart Avenue, and from Hart Avenue to about Central Avenue. And tomorrow it will be finished down to East Lincoln Street. So good progress was made there today. We want to thank the city crews for working hard on that project. Let's see.
Was that city crews or was that outsourced?
That is our own internal city crews.
No. Smithfield?
Yes.
No.
Oh no, that's
that was
right.
an outside contract.
That's right. It was. Sorry, I got my
Outside
projects
contract.
mixed up.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So, I'm getting lightheaded. Okay. Henry Jenkins, Finance Director, up next.
And my report's really fast.
Everything looks good, Andy, right? All right.
Yeah, well, it does look good, but I've got, budget revision in here tonight. I'll go really quick on that. And
Resolution.
just a couple things you might want me back up here for. My balance is in enterprise fund, March the 31st, 2021. Waste collection board money market, $833,212, and their savings is $58,033. Water board, money market and checking, $870,395. Their CDs are at $386,243. And I want to point out that a CD had to be closed out. It matured, so we closed it out, put it into the money market because the water board needed to bring some funds over into that account, and then we're going to put the about $475,000 back in a savings. Sanitary board, money market and checking, $714,106, and CD and savings, $253,000. Then we have the stormwater fund, money market and checking, $71,172, and we're just getting ready to write a check from general fund, which is sales tax money, to place into the stormwater fund. That's per the budget. And that's the short version of my report until we get down into the budget revision.
You want to go ahead and just talk about the budget revision right now?
If you want.
Should we approve a report or not?
We don't do that
here.
We only do that for the enterprise boards.
Okay, budget revision number 6 for the general fund. You all were busy. So I'm going to tell you where you need to allocate some funds at. This budget revision number 6, and remember that there's a resolution with this, and there will need to be a roll call vote on that. $41,736 is the total amount of the revision. And the line item numbers that you have in your packet, mayor's office postage, we have to add $2,600 to that. That'll increase that budget from $10,000 to $12,600. Event and firework expense in this maybe a little discussion. With 16,000, increasing it to 18,500, that's to cover everything in that was like the $2,500 we paid for the fireworks, you know, the 1st of July last year. 2,000 you approved to go to the Rib Fest. 4,000, and here's the question: do you want to increase the amount of fireworks this year? We did talk to the vendor. He said for what we've been paying, which has held firm for about 3 years now, that he wouldn't be able to present as many fireworks, and if you wanted to increase that, I've increased that slightly, 4,000 for that. And then the 10,000 for the Strawberry Festival that was allocated to them is in this budget revision. In council's capital outlay, and another item that's in your packet but has been discussed, is putting $2,750 towards the Jawbone sound equipment. In data processing, we need to replace some receipt printers that are out front in our office. They broke down, and we've got loaners out there right now. I need to put $2,000 in there to replace them. $1,500 for the police telephones budget. Fire salaries, I'm adding a little bit there. I think they're going to be okay, but it's going to be close for this year because of some overtime due to some sicknesses and vacations. Fire insurance, since we had to take on the 100% of the volunteer fire insurance for those trucks that were turned over to us, I had $8,000 to that, which makes it $38,000 total for the fire department insurance for those vehicles and volunteer fire insurance. Fire materials, for COVID testing, I had to replenish their supply line item because of COVID testing of the volunteers, $4,600. Total line item for that is $13,100. Fire capital outlay, we did not receive the truck this year. We had budgeted for the truck. So since those funds were sitting there, we pulled out $10,000, reduced that budget. But JD wanted to go ahead and use the funds that were in there for $3,500 for lights, $13,000 for hoses, $4,500 for a camera, drone camera, $6,000 for a Stairmaster, and $5,000 for that study that's going to be paid half by the city and half by the county, the first phase of that. That was approved at, I think, the first April meeting. It might have been 18th. It is one of those two meetings. Street group insurance, we had a new employee added, and I have to put in money in there for the HSA and his health insurance, $1,286. With the new property, we run into a gas issue out there and that we're trying to resolve, but Jerry would have to speak to it, but there's a problem with the gas that's feeding that property, so we had to put $10,000 in there to cover those expenses. Street uniforms, $1,500. We pulled out $10,000 for snow removal. Hopefully we won't have any snow now to melt. And then the airport authority, you wanted $20,000 to expense them for this fiscal year. And then all of that will be compensated by the miscellaneous line item revenue where we had some CARES money placed in them. So that's the budget revision.
What's the Stairmaster?
That's exercise equipment.
$6,000?
Yeah, it's a special one that when I was watching some of their when they do training, it does a lot more. It's not just like a tread machine. It tells you, like, I think the pulse rate. It has certain timers on it for
Specifically calibrated for testing. And
yeah, Matt probably knows more about it. It's fancy. That's all I know. They have to borrow one.
State legislature approved it.
Yeah, I figured.
They have to borrow one from another department when they're doing the physical agility test because of the type of machine they have to have. Any questions?
That all?
Well, that was enough.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. On a resolution, we need to do a roll call vote, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. council will entertain a motion that we bring the approval of the budget revision number 6, fiscal year 2021, to the table for consideration.
So moved.
Motion by Ryland, second by Sanders. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, all right.
I'll do the vote first, and then I'll do the
Yes,
roll call.
okay, so I'd entertain a motion that we approve the budget revision 2021-03, revision number 6 for the general fund in fiscal year 2020-2021. Entertain a motion that we accept it.
Second.
A motion by Sanders, second by Allball. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, I'll defer to Mr. Recorder for the roll call.
Mrs. Allball,
Yes.
Mrs. Bucklew,
Yes.
Mr. Rigger,
Yes.
Mr. Ryland,
Yes.
Mr. Thomas,
Yep.
Mr. Sanders votes yes. Mr. Skinner,
Yes.
passes unanimously. And I will come around for the signatures.
Thanks, Amy. Okay. Matt, you are up finally at 9 o'clock. Not what I figured. Actually, I figured it might be a little later.
Like the old days.
Just like the old days.
Just real brief, Mayor, just a quick report on the virtual on-site assessment with CALEA. That did occur with the police department last Monday and Tuesday. Things went very well with that. All told, the CALEA assessors interviewed over 25 individuals, both within the department and the city, as well as community members. Our next and final phase of this initial assessment is when I appear before a committee of the commission in July. We do anticipate a report from both the web assessment as well as the on-site assessment that occurred over the last couple of months to be generated in the next 4 or 5 weeks. And the purpose of my appearance before the commission in July is to respond to the report and answer any additional questions. We do anticipate with the good feedback that we got from the exit conference that accreditation will occur this July. So more on that as we get to that point. A big thank you to Randy Sanders, who was really instrumental in helping us with the technical side of things, and also publicly thank Rodney with Channel 3. He was a big help in getting my videos uploaded and sent to the assessors as well, especially at the 11th hour. So that worked out very well. I appreciate that. In the interim, work does continue, even though we're waiting for the final phase to occur in July. Work continues with CALEA. It is an ongoing process. The manual, the standards manual was updated again after the most recent conference that concluded in March. So I have prepared some amendments to some of our policies in response to 2 manual changes that have occurred over the last few months, as well as a couple of recommendations that came as a result of both the web assessment and the on-site assessment. We do anticipate a policy committee meeting on April 28th, who will convene to address these amendments moving forward. The Police Civil Service Board is scheduled to meet on May 11th to begin discussions for starting a battery of testing for an eligibility list this summer. Currently our eligibility list has expired and we have nobody on it, so we will be testing to replenish that over the course of the summer. And then finally, James Fisher continues his academy training. He's about halfway through. We do anticipate his graduation on May 28th. And we are continuing communication with the Academy concerning Jacob Garrison. We've gotten a tentative date of possibly at the end of May. However, we're waiting on confirmation on that. So we're hoping that that is in fact the case, at which he will train over the summer, and we'll have him back as well just before the fall begins. Mayor, that's all I have unless there's questions.
Are there any questions or comments for Chief Gregory? Randy?
Chief, I would just like to say that it was an honor and a pleasure to work with you and your entire team through the FLIA presentations, and the city attorney O'Neill was there as well, and it was really fun and great and inspiring. And the assessors who you were working with, the two gentlemen, the officers who did the assessment, they were pros.
Oh yeah.
And it was good to interact with them, and it was great to see the community come together and give us some positive comments at the safety complex. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
Randy, anytime. I appreciate all your help. Very much so.
And Matt, I really enjoyed speaking with the gentleman from the accreditation committee that last Monday morning, and I think the support you received on last Monday night was very positive from the community for the accreditation process and for the department as a whole. So I'm pleased with that. Thank you for the work you've done, and also thank all the council members who were there. And then I want to thank CJ for CJ's from the inside council seat of helping Kalia become a reality. That was one of the questions that was asked of me, is how did this come about? Did the department bring this to you, or was this a council request? And I said, well, we had a specific member of the city council bring this forth, and I said, and our police department ran with it and has done a phenomenal job with it, and has done it in record time. You guys have been busy, so I think they appreciated that answer, that this was something that was asked of the police department. The police department took it and welcomed it with open arms and has excelled with it. So,
yeah. Well, and that's one thing that, just to add to that both assessors noted more than once over the course of the 2 days of the virtual assessment was how collaborative this approach was, both in terms of council support, the city support. They were very interested in the policy committee. In fact, it was so much so that they wanted me to type a summary explaining how that came about, how it worked, because according to the lead assessor, that's apparently a novel concept with other accredited agencies. And so he wanted to make that report to the commission on what we're doing here in Buckhannon to collaborate as a team as we seek accreditation.
They're refunding us $28 too of that assessment fee.
What's that again, Anthony?
Yeah, they're refunding us $2,800 of that assessment fee, which we paid $5,500 for. They're going to refund $2,800 of that.
Yeah, and a lot of that is normally the on-site assessment is just that they come here, and that fee would have covered their travel costs. And since it was done virtually, they refunded that part of it.
Jack, you didn't hear that. Amby's thrilled to death about getting a refund of $2,800. Everything else didn't mean a thing. It's just a $2,800 refund, and Amby's happy about it. Just so you know, Jack. No, I'm sorry. Did I paraphrase that well?
Yeah, that works.
no new taxes. We got.
Well, I think it's really important to highlight that how involved CJ was in this whole process, because that makes a difference on the process. They probably didn't realize this.
What's that? What's that?
Nothing. No, you heard what I said, Randy. Put it in the minutes.
Any additional questions or comments for Chief Gregory?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Matt.
Thanks, Matt. Mr. O'Neill, do you have a report?
No, well, I have nothing to add.
Okay. Yes. Mary's back here sending smoke signals.
Where to go,
Tom? I have something later.
Oh, better not be much later.
Okay, it's past CJ's bedtime. Okay, under correspondence and information, we have a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, April 2021. We've got the West Virginia Commission on the Arts grant application fiscal year 2022 cultural facilities and capital resources Colonial Theater basement renovation. We've got the West Virginia Department of Highways. They wrote back to us about the traffic study that has been ongoing for a few years. They have announced that they will be installing new traffic lights at the intersections of Childers Run Road and Keesling Mill Road each along US Route 33, and then they will also be doing some upgrades to the Brushy Fork and Route 33 intersection on the west side of town. There have been a few news articles about that. Channel 12 from Clarksburg reached out to me today about that, so that's in your packet to consider. It's been an ongoing, as we know, process. We've got West Virginia Vapors LLC zoning form to the West Virginia ABACA licensing department. We've got an ethics letter by the West Virginia Ethics Commission. We have a reminder that every year on the same day at the same hour, all of the municipal governments in West Virginia will have a special city council meeting to lay the levy on Tuesday, April the 20th, 2021 at 9 a.m. So we'll be doing that here. And then we've also got the report of the cat and dog activity from the Upshur County Commission for December 2020 to February 2021. Under the consent agenda, we've got several regular meeting minutes to approve. We've got the 18th of March, the 1st of April, and then we've got the final budget sessions on February 10th, 16th, 24th, and then March the 10th. I'd entertain a motion that we approve the minutes as presented in all of those dates.
So moved.
So moved.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Motion by Mary, second by Jack Rager. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. Motion carries. And then finally, under the consent agenda, we've got the approval of the building and wiring permits and the approval of the payment of the bills. I'd entertain a motion that we accept E2 and E3.
So moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Sanders, and we have a second.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Allball. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Under strategic issues for discussion and or vote, do we want to do anything with F2? The gentleman who was on the agenda to come and speak about this is not here.
Well,
Or Mr. O'Neill, you.
Can I speak to that? The easement's in your packet. It's the sale of that property is pending, and this easement's necessary in order to kind of push it across the finish line. If you would consider approving it tonight, that would just kind of clear the decks of this issue.
Okay.
Where is it in the packet?
Probably fairly far back.
If it's not, I can go print off another copy of it.
I've read it. I saw it. Well, if it's your recommendation that this would make the process go smoother,
Yes.
I would entertain a motion that we go ahead and accept
So
the
moved.
easement grant to Joni Nelson Howard. I have a motion by CJ. Do we have a second?
Second.
A second by Mrs. Bucklew. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those like sign opposed. Motion carries. F3 and F4 have been previously discussed. F5. We have a recommendation from the Water Board to begin the process of looking at the water rate as provided by the water rate analysis. Mr. O'Neill or Mrs. Jenkins, do you want to discuss this? This is just basically the formality to enter into the true, nuts and bolts, basically, of what the water rate study has found, and then to work toward drafting an ordinance.
Yes, this is just a recommendation coming from the Water Board to accept the recommendations from the water rate study to begin the process of the increasing of water rates. And I'll try to be quick. The last rate increase for Water Board was in November of 2016, and the primary reason for that increase was for the new water tank, plant infrastructure, and radio read meters. And then since then, of course, we've had operating cost increase. And between 2017 and 19, we had 170,000 more in expenditures than we did revenues, and of course 20 then just reiterated that even a little more. So this is just the gist of it. There'll be a lot more discussions later. Water Board will probably attend the next meeting or two. Water Board, they've had several discussions in the past several times about the cash flow issues with water, and they contracted with an outside accounting firm, Smith, Cochran, Hicks, PLLC of Charleston, to conduct a water rate study review. And in the meantime, we were also closing out our books in 2020 with our independent accountant. We have him help us with financial statements and the PSC report. And he also was at the same time reiterating and giving us a warning that we needed to be looking at a rate increase. We were barely making the bond requirements again last year. So this has been ongoing discussions and trying to stave off this as much as possible, but it's to the point we can't. We also have some legislation that the PSC requires us to set back 1/8 of our operating expenses into a reserve account for operations, for infrastructure. And that amounts to about $230,000 a year, and there's no way at this point we can do that. So we have to start doing that, and we have to build the rates up to be able to do that as well and meet the operational costs. Our plant, we have a Class 4 water plant. Our water plant operators have had some, we've had operators leave and go to other departments that are paying substantially more than us, so we've had to compensate for those things. And then the rate study was conducted by Smith, Cochran, and Hicks, and they looked at both the revenues and expenses and from the past few years, and so this is why we're at where we're at right now. The rate study is in your packet. Buckhannon ranks at this time, I think isn't there about 340 water companies, municipal, private, PSDs. One being the lowest, 340 being the highest in rates, and we set at number 33 right now. So there's where we're at. The rate study does look at about a 25% increase for residential and commercial and a 42% increase for PSDs at this time. That's the gist of it, I think.
That's the maximum allowed for the PSDs?
No, the rate study kind of guides us to that in what kind of funds we need. We are substantially low in resale rates for PSDs. Yeah. We're selling money to the PSDs.
Is there a minimum, maximum?
No. But I don't think we want to.
Whatever we charge them, they're passing on to them.
They pass on to their customers, yes.
Yeah, they're going to pass straight on to the consumer.
Yeah, so we're trying to be as careful as we can with this. And
well, I think it's important to note that even with the increase for the public service districts, we are still, with many of the other municipalities, 50% lower than some of them. We've been really very, very judicious as far as not increasing the rates very much. We need to start taking a serious look at that. And if you think about getting a glass of water to drink, you want to make sure it's safe. So you need operators that can do the job. And we had a lot of discussion. I'm on the water board, and we had a lot of discussions. And we don't take this lightly. And we think that one thing we need to take a look at very seriously is not wait for 5 or 6 or 7 years before you look at a rate increase. We have to keep up with what's happening out there. And plant operators, very short supply. It's many of them are going to be retiring over the state, and a lot of the municipalities are increasing their salaries, hours substantially. And especially when you're dealing with a for-profit company rather than a municipal league or cities that are not for profit. So it's something that we need to keep abreast to.
Dennis,
When's the water board meet again to discuss the rate increase?
We've had that meeting, Dennis. And,
I was only gonna add one thing to it.
Yes.
One thought.
Okay.
Over the years, sometimes you go for a number of years at the same rate, then you gotta jump up big time. I'm on fixed income. I can handle a little bit each year, a step up every year, a gentle step up, so I would recommend that instead of waiting a long time and then a big one. That's all I have to say.
we're aware of that. And
Okay.
I think the rate we are recommending is reasonable, and you have to take a look at it in regard to everything else that you're paying for.
Just to be clear, this recommendation tonight is not passing any increase whatsoever. This is this motion would be to enter into the discussions with the water board and to in-depthly look at the rate study to potentially draft an ordinance for the rate increase. That is what this is for. This is not, we are not passing a rate increase at this motion at this time tonight.
Well, I'll just add to that, Robbie. The water board, with the consultant and with our accountants, we unanimously agreed what the new water rates need to be, but that's going to take, a process to go through that whole scenario.
Right. All right, I entertain a motion that we accept the recommendation from the water board and begin the process as provided by the water rate analysis.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion. Mr. Thomas, I'll give it to Jack. Motion by Thomas, second by Jack. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Finally, F6, the approval to purchase additional sound equipment for Jawbone Park. Mr. Sanders, do you want to, or Mrs. Jenkins, do you want to, or Mr. Rylance?
Mr. Rollins, anyone?
This was a list provided us by Rodney to round out the loose ends that we had been borrowing from different people to put the sound together. So this will be held together at Jawbone in some capacity and be available for presenting sound at any events that are held there.
I would just add that Amby has, I don't know who's going to place this order. I think Amby will place the order if we approve it tonight. And she's always squeezed a little extra discount out of the folks, when she goes in there. We gave,
right?
yeah. We gave,
$2,718.
yeah, that's the estimate. Yeah, that's the estimated cost. We saved $2,800 in the CLIA.
Need a motion?
Yes.
Well, okay, so there's a list provided. It comes up to an approximate $2,700. I would entertain a motion that we authorize $2,800 to fulfill the request for the sound equipment at Jawbone Park.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Thomas. We have a second by Mrs. Bucklew. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Like sign opposed. Motion carries. Okay, we are down to council comments and announcements. I'm tired. Okay, Mary Allball. Nothing for you. Pam.
Nothing.
Nothing from you. CJ.
Nothing.
Dave Thomas.
Nothing.
Jack Rager.
I have nothing to share.
Randy Sanders.
Nothing.
I need to say I'm tired more often. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time this evening. I'd entertain a motion that at 9:20 we adjourn.
Second.
So moved.